What's the illusion of corporate safety and what's the reality?
Yeah, I think the illusion is that
Meet Eugenia Pasquale Gill, a coach who empowers ambitious expat women to break free from the 9 to 5, step into personal growth, and build businesses that create true freedom and purpose. With expertise in coaching, mentoring, and people development, she helps women transform unfulfilling routines into lives designed on their own terms.
So you work with ambitious expat women. What kind of pressure do these kind of women face that, probably a local or any other person may not face?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I decided to focus on that because that was me back then, and I wish someone would have helped me when I needed and I didn't know a way. But I think that as an expat, you move somewhere.
Talk to me more about, somebody, because I definitely understand how it can affect your morale as a person if you have been laid off in, 3 times in a row. How have you seen that affected people over the years?
It's really tough.
I want to know, for anyone who is watching this right now, what are the early warning signs that someone is ready to leave their 9 to 5?
That's a great question, actually, because I was ready to leave it before that. But, for me, it was like, well, I have my holiday. I wait for the weekend. I wait for the holidays. I have a good salary. I think when you have a good salary, it's tough because you're like, okay, I can wait for the weekend, wait for the holidays, and you keep going. But I would say the signs are not being fulfilled. Because for me, I kept changing jobs, right? I was at Pepsi, great job, but was not enough. Then I was at Google and I left also because I wanted more. So I think the sign is when you keep changing jobs and not finding fulfillment, maybe it's just fulfillment's not in a job, it's somewhere else.
So today's episode is for anyone who is stuck in a dead-end 9 to 5 job and you're looking for a way out. We are going to be talking to somebody who has been there, done that, and today we are going to be discussing a step-by-step strategy to get you out of your rut today. Today we have with us Eugenia, and she's going to be giving us the tea. So before we teach anyone how to leave their job, let's talk about the breaking point for you. What is the moment that you realized you have to change the way things are?
I'll give a little bit of background to help build up to that. But basically, I was in corporate. I went into HR because I wanted to help people. So I was like, that's the best route to do it. And I got into it, and then I just started going from job to job. I worked at Pepsi, then Google came get me from Madrid, moved to London for Google. So that was great, and always climbing the corporate ladder. However, I wanted to have more impact, so I left Google. I went to startups, scale-ups, and one day I got fired from a place, and that was like the big breaking point. I think that sometimes, like, if we have an okay life, we don't change. And they say the enemy of great is not bad, it's good. Because if we are okay, we don't do anything to change. However, when that happened, it was such a big thing for me to be like, wow, a job's not safe. What I thought all my life is okay, it's not fine anymore. And that was the biggest moment where I was like, okay, from now onwards, I'm just going to depend on myself. I'm not going to just depend on a job for the rest of my life. So that was the breaking point.
Wow. I love the way you succinctly describe the breaking point for you. So I want to know, for anyone who is watching this right now, what are the early warning signs that someone is ready to leave their 9 to 5?
That's a great question, actually, because I was ready to leave it before that. But, for me, it was like, well, I have my holiday. I wait for the weekend. I wait for the holidays. I have a good salary. I think when you have a good salary, it's tough because you're like, okay, I can wait for the weekend, wait for the holidays, and you keep going. But I would say the signs are not being fulfilled. Because for me, I kept changing jobs, right? I was at Pepsi, great job, but was not enough. Then I was at Google. And I left also because I wanted more. So I think the sign is when you keep changing jobs and not finding fulfillment, maybe it's just fulfillment's not in a job. It's somewhere else.
For most people, you had the dream job. What was the, because you worked with PepsiCo, you worked with Google. What's the silent pain most professionals carry that your boss will never see?
I think just my boss saw it because she wanted me to keep growing, but it got to a point that it was not even the growth in the career. I wanted more freedom. I love to travel, and I always had to ask for permission for annual leave. I always needed to check with my colleagues when it was okay to go for a holiday. And for me, that was not freedom. And I think it slowly built up until the breaking point where it was like my wake up call, let's say.
you worked at Google, you worked at PepsiCo, Builder AI. From the outside, it looks like the dream for most people. What was it like inside for you as a person, as a recruiter?
Yeah, great question. So I started as a recruiter. So when I was at Pepsi and at Google, I was a recruiter. And I loved it because I think in those big companies, you are changing people's lives by giving them a job there. Like, it's such a good opportunity, so much growth, so much learning. So I loved recruiting graduates because I was doing specifically graduates. And that was the best start of my journey. However, as I went on, I realized that okay, you don't have lots of impact. You're a little person in a very big company. And that I just didn't sit right with me. I wanted to do more. And then I thought, okay, a startup or a scale up will be great because then I'm going to do a lot of things, not just like one thing, but very well. And that's when I did the transition. However, it was not the role, I think, because then I managed to transition to HR, which is internal. I got to help more people. I thought so. But then my values were conflicted. And I realized when I work for someone else, it's their values I need to follow, not my own. And the tech startup scale up world is tough for that.
Yeah,
it's a tough place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was asking, what did it felt like for you
to work in them?
Yeah, the feeling for you.
With Pepsi and Google, I was still fine. I mean, it was my beginning of my career. Like I was young. That's all I wanted, right? To work in good companies, do what I wanted. But then when I started going to the other ones, the smaller ones, I just realized that I was unhappier even. I didn't have more impact really, even though I thought I would. But in smaller companies, whatever the CEO wants is what you do. Like all the companies manage like that. So unless you have 100% agree with their values, it's not going to be the place for you. Yeah.
So what's the illusion of corporate safety and what's the reality?
Yeah, I think the illusion is that we are safe having a corporate job. And even in big companies, I think when I was at Pepsi and at Google, it was quite safe. But nowadays, all companies are doing layoffs. And that for me was a very big wake-up call. But the illusion is you're safe until you're not. And that's what happened to me. And also it's what happened to a lot of people. I've been talking to people who have been laid off like 3 times in a row. And I'm like, but you should maybe try something different, right? Wow. Because if you've been and it's not even the person, because it really affects your value, right? You feel I did something wrong or it's me, but it's layoffs. They are cutting costs. They need to let people go and it's you, right? But it was a very big moment.
Wow. So talk to me more about, somebody, because I definitely understand how it can affect your morale as a person if you have been laid off in 3 times in a row. How have you seen that affected people over the years?
It's really tough. I think that you get in a rut and then you start like applying to any job, like you just whatever is good for you, right? Because like you are desperate to get a job, and that's not great because that also makes you say yes to maybe not a great job, and then you want to leave again. So it's just this cycle that it's hard to get out of. But for things like this, it's super important to realize you're also trying to find your perfect job, not you're interviewing them and they are interviewing you. And for me, this was one of the biggest thing I learned. Like in an interview, you're also interviewing the company, and make sure to do it well.
If someone is watching this right now and they are scared of leaving their job, what do they misunderstand or misunderstood about job security?
Yeah. I think it's completely normal to be scared because that's why I never left my job until that was decided for me. Now I see it as the biggest blessing that ever happened to me. I know it's hard to see in the moment it happens, but now looking back, it was the best that could happen to me. It's having a job, even though you think it's secure. I understand it's scary to leave, but there's so many things nowadays you can do on the side from your job until you feel ready and secure with something else to leave. And for me, discovering that was the best thing ever.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Of course. So when I was let go, I didn't know what to do. That was the biggest thing. I had no clue what I would do, but I decided I would never depend only on a job ever again. And I created an Instagram page and just decided to see what was out there. I love to travel, so I'm like, I'm going to create a travel page on Instagram. I did that, and then biggest surprise ever, people started reaching out to me on Instagram saying like, oh, have you ever considered starting an online business? And I was like, what? Like, do people do this? Like, is it real? And that opened a new world for me, which is network marketing. And I started looking for another job because, again, I wanted that security, that stable income coming in. But I started my business on the side. And then when I started a new job, I had something else, which was secure at least to have two things rather than just one.
Awesome. I will want you to give me a blueprint, a framework that somebody who wants to quit their job in 6 to 12 months can start working on today. So if someone wanted to quit in 12 months, what is the step one?
Okay.
Not theory, step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's go.
Step by step
Yeah.
for what I do, which for me, I think it's the best option ever. But number one is you need to get really angry at your situation.
Wow.
So like you're done with your job, like you want your holiday, you want your freedom. Like that's the biggest and most important step, because unless you do that, you won't do anything. Like you really need to be done with the situation. And for me, it got to get me fired to be in that situation. So you need to find a way, hopefully, to do it without getting fired or leaving your job instantly. Once you've done that, you need to channel that energy, because if you get angry and mopey and then you don't do anything with it, like anger, it's a really good energy if channeled well. And then you just need to use that energy to put into something and build something. And with that, I would say focus on one thing at a time. I'm sure you have lots of goals and lots of things you want to accomplish, but start with one, accomplish that, then do the next, then do the next. Going to the blueprint. So what I did myself and I would recommend to do is, number one, look at options you can do to start next to your job. So like a side hustle, a side income. There's lots out there. I would say network marketing's the best I found. And there's a great book called The Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, so you probably know him. He talks about how everyone should do network marketing at least once in their life. So for me, I would say 100% go for that. Read the book, see how it is a very, very powerful industry, and then choose a company. For me, I have a discovery process that you can do, and it's 88 euros. You get to see the whole blueprint, how it works, the business, the vehicle, and then you get to feel the community and feel if this is the right choice for you. Once you've done that, then you get to start your business in a 6 weeks business launch, so step by step. Why I say this is because sometimes when we want to start something, at least me, I always wanted to have my own business. I didn't have a product. I didn't have a service. I didn't have an idea. So I was like, well, I can't be an entrepreneur if I don't have any of those. But then I found network marketing, which is sometimes called as business in a box. So you have like training, you have everything you need to build a business. And you need to invest less than 15K to start. I mean, who could think of starting a business investing less than 15K? Usually if you have like property or so, it could be like 100K you're putting into a business. So I was like, yes, I want to do this. And I remember doing the discovery process myself, and it's what changed my life. So I would recommend everyone starting there and seeing what feels right for them. Not what in their head think it's right, but what feels right as a vehicle to accomplish their dreams.
Awesome. I may have to pick some things there and we'll go over it one step at a time. So I just want to go over the things you've said. The first thing is be angry at your situation. The second thing is to channel that energy, then focus that energy. That's the third thing. Then you mention of three things. First of all, start thinking of what you can do while you are still at that job. Remember, we are looking at what we can do in the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months. So probably in the first month, let's say today, start getting angry today. From tomorrow, start channeling that energy. Start thinking about what more you can do with your time. Start thinking about how much more you can achieve if you actually do take the step. If you as somebody one wise person said, find a way to put a leverage on yourself, which is start thinking of, okay, what more can I do? What more can I achieve? I want to travel more. I want to spend more time with my family. All those are the energy that you need to start thinking about and start. I think those are the things that will start. First of all, you need to start changing your perspective. Now, once you've done that, you now need to focus that on how can I, the question. One of the questions I usually ask myself is, if you are working in a place, let's say you are working for Google or you are working for PepsiCo what are you doing for them? Let's say let's say you are doing recruitment, or let's say you are doing marketing for them, or let's say you are doing whatever it is you are doing for them. Map it out, write it out. Then I will ask myself, is there anybody else I can go offer this service to? Maybe on the weekend, or when I come back from work. Which still comes back to what you are talking about here. We're talking about side hustle. Start thinking about what you can do in your spare time to build that up. So you said side hustle. The business of the you then mentioned people should read a particular book called The Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki. Again, it is not enough for you to think you want to do something. You need to know how to do it.
Yes.
Everybody have a goal. Everybody wants, well, most people have goals. Most people want to be rich. Most people dream of freedom, but not everybody is ever going to get it.
100%.
Because there's usually a distance between where you are and where you want to go to. And one of the leverages to bridge that gap is knowledge. So you could, the book she mentioned, The Business of the 21st Century, and the specific step she took was a particular network marketing company. She got onboarded with £88, then a 6 weeks business in a box that got her started.
Yes.
I just wanted to iterate everything you've said to see if there is any point we are missing.
Nothing's missing, but I want to clarify, because with a side hustle, like network marketing, again, now I do it full time and I'm so happy, but it started on the side. But be careful with what you choose, because you'll end up putting more hours than in a job, and finding yourself another job. And being self-employed is tough, unless you're building a business that's gonna work for you instead of you work for your business. And that's a super big difference. With network marketing, you have passive income, you have a lot of different income sources that, yes, you need to build it at the beginning, but then it's going to work for you. And a lot of the things out there, you end up just working harder than in a job and not even having a stable income. So that's really stressful. So be very careful with what you choose. That's what I would say.
So what are the criteria that anyone watching this should follow in order to pick the right vehicle that will take them to that place?
I would say usually definitely do network marketing 100%. There's different companies. Everyone thinks their own one's the best one. So that is up to them to choose. But for me, it would be do the discovery process. Most of them have a discovery process, and then you get to see what is there. I mean, you can always do mine. I love my discovery process, but it's always just seeing what feels right for you. And all the steps that we talked about, it can all be done in 2 weeks until the 6 weeks business launch. That takes 6 weeks, but it can be done really fast. And then you at least know this is for me or this is not for me. So it's a very easy thing to do, and you get a lot of clarity from it. So.
Is there any step people avoid doing because it's uncomfortable?
I think lots, but the discovery process, even some people just don't do it. I remember back when I was going to do it, I was like, oh my God, 88 euros paid to a stranger. I never bought things online back then. That was 3 years ago, and it was super stressful. And my mom was like, it's 88 euros and you get your money back if you don't like it. So just do it. And when I did it, I was like, I'm so glad I did it, because it changed my life, and it was 88 euros. So I always laugh about this now, but I'm really glad I did it. And people don't even do that step. So you say you don't want something, but you don't know what that something is because you've not explored it yet.
So you work with ambitious expat women. What kind of pressure do these kind of women face that, probably a local or any other person may not face?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I decided to focus on that because that was me back then, and I wish someone would have helped me when I needed and I didn't know a way. But I think that as an expat, you move somewhere, you don't know anyone, you move probably for a job, maybe for love, but usually for a better job. And that's what I did. I was like, oh, great, I'm moving here. This is so exciting. But I knew no one. I was alone, and yeah, I focused on my job. But then when you realize, okay, I don't like my job, I don't want to keep here, it feels quite isolating. So I think for expats, it's always having to choose, right? For example, I love to travel. So I had to choose, do I travel or do I go back see my family? Because I have 25 days annual leave a year. I need to make the best out of those days. And I was the best person at making the most out of those days. But anyways, it was just 25 days. So even if I was the best at it, it still was not enough. And I got tired of also having to choose, like, do I go see family or do I go travel? And now I don't have to choose, which I love that. And I think a lot of expat women might feel that, like they have to always choose because there's not enough time for everything.
So are you still focused on the expat women now?
Yeah. I actually like recently focused on expat women because first I got into this because I wanted to help people. It sounds like, yes, but it's the truth. But then when you try to help everyone, you don't help anyone. And that's also what I've noticed with time, that I grew a lot slower because I didn't focus on who I wanted to help. So now I'm really, really focused. Like, of course, this business is for everyone. And as someone told me recently, online, you help expat women. Offline, you can help everyone. So that's how I feel. But
awesome.
Definitely, it's people who really needed expat women.
So that's your ICP, ideal client profile.
Yes,
awesome,
that is it.
So what's one mindset shift that expat women must make in order to make this shift? In order to be able to leave their 9 to 5, if that's what they desire.
The mindset shift is that you can actually do it. Because for me, the biggest thing was like, oh, this is just something that some people do, but it's not for me. Like sometimes you just think it's not real. I remember, and I said it recently, but it's such a big thing, that I used to see other people in network marketing getting paid like multiple times a week, multiple times a month. And I was like, that's not real. I remember telling Peter, it's not true, and it was bank screenshot. So it was true, but you just tell yourself to feel okay with your situation. And now it's been happening to me and I'm like, heck yeah, it was true. It was true. But yeah, I think that it's just knowing that you really can do this. That's the biggest mindset shift.
So if you are to tell them anything right now, it will be that you can do it.
Yes. And also, do it scared, because fear is always there. So just do it. I think that's the first thing. If you're like me, you want to be prepared. You want to know everything before you take a step, but you don't need to. Like once you take the step, you learn everything along the way. So that's the biggest one.
Yeah. So what does being an expat, how does it shape the kind of business an expat person can do, especially women?
I think being an expat, the thing is that you sometimes don't know where you're going to build your life forever, right? Because you always have back home. Now you have your new home. So it's just a business that can be super flexible. So now I'm doing it here. But if I decide to move back to Spain, I can take my business with me. Everything I've built, I can take it with me. And that flexibility, expats, I mean, for me, I think everyone needs it. But expats really need it, because then you get to do everything you want without having to always make trade-offs. I think that's a big thing.
So from what I'm hearing, it could also lead to location freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, so that if wherever you are in the world, you are still able to do something that can bring you money, which for most people it's impossible, because they have to go to a specific location to do, to do the kind of work they do to make money, which I think it's amazing. What kind of fears did you have to confront before you found your freedom?
I love this question, because so many, honestly, so many. But I think that there's different fears for different people. The first one, as I said, honestly, was the 88 euros for the discovery. Now I laugh because I confronted so many other fears afterwards, but that was the beginning. And then I think the biggest one was I did the discovery process in 2 days so fast. I loved it. I knew this was it for me. Like I felt it in my gut, but then, I had to invest in my business, because to start a business, you need to invest. And that was the next step. And I invested in my business, and that was great. But then next step I had to do is, now I've invested in my business. I have a business that's amazing, but how do I start rolling, right? I did the 6 weeks business launch, but then suddenly there's no one coming. Like you're not speaking to the right people yet. You need to learn a lot of stuff. And for me, that was a very, very big thing to just learn all along the way. And there's fears. I had a fear of going on camera the first time I went on camera. I recorded the video, I think 20 times.
Really?
Yes. So I did that. But nowadays also, in these 3 years, everything has changed. Now you can have a teleprompt and you can actually have the words in front of you. I'm like, yay, that saves me a lot of time. But it's little things like this. It can be a little thing that you have fear of, but once you do it, it goes away. And I read this book and I love the book, and I always say this, is feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's what I've been doing. I think this year has been the biggest year for me to overcome fears. And I've done things I would have never imagined, business-wise, personal-wise, but it's been the best. Because once you overcome a fear, you can do more and you can do more and you keep growing.
But I'm trying to re-ask the question again, if you don't mind, is how do I think about it? I have a job that is stable, that is paying me well. That alone should cause me fear. How do you process it?
My biggest fear, honestly, was having to wait until I'm 65 years old to go enjoy my life. That, like the fear of being stuck until 65 was the biggest fear I had. So I was like, whatever I do, it's less scary than that. And I kept telling myself that even when my business started growing and maybe it was slower than I thought at the beginning, I'm like, my alternative is I stay in a job forever until I'm 65. And to start traveling at 65, it's a bit sad, you're like older, things start to hurt. So I'm like, no, let's do it the other way around. I'm just going to enjoy my life now and then we'll see what happens at 65.
That's cool. I'm laughing because I was talking to an older friend recently, and he's telling me everything out. He's around that age, he's 65. He just retired. I was talking. He said, he was telling me there is, he's considerably rich. He said he can give up all of the money he has to come to my age right now. I said, really?
But it's true though, and it's a shame, right? That you would. That's the thing. We work hard. That's what they teach us, though. Work hard, and then when you're retired, you can enjoy your life. But if we don't do that, if we realize it's possible to enjoy our life now and build something for the future that will pay you, like that's the best of both worlds, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So, when most people hear about this kind of freedom that you are talking about, what's one thing that they misunderstand? And, what's the hard truth about this freedom?
Yes.
What's the hard truth? Because I don't want to give I don't want us to give a false hope.
Yeah.
And to think everything is very sweet, just chill, relax.
No, it's not.
What's the hard truth?
The hard truth is there's no get money fast, get rich quick kind of schemes. Like that does not exist. Like you do need to put the work in, and usually when you start anything you'll put a lot of work at the beginning. But if you find something that's right, you'll put a lot of work at the beginning, but then that's going to work for you. Again, passive income streams, residual income, like there's lots of different types of income that can work for you in the longer term. But of course, to build it at the beginning, you will need to put the time and effort. One good thing about network marketing is like some people do literally work 2 hours a day or 2 hours a week even. That's up to you. For me, I love what I do, and I don't know if I'll go to work just 2 hours a day because I do love helping others and helping them start their business in network marketing. But the key thing is it just won't happen overnight. Like the work needs to be put in there. But if you do it well, then it's not going to be like forever that you have to put the hard work in.
So what I've learned now is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
No.
You need to put in the work. Yeah, thank you.
And a lot of people don't like that. That's also what I've realized. It's like, oh, I actually need to work for this. I don't want it. And that's fine, but then it's better to stay at a job. That's my recommendation.
Mm-hmm. So if you lost everything today and you had to rebuild to freedom from zero, what will you do first?
I would build this again. And this, I think it's such a good question to ask people, because rich people, they say, it doesn't matter if I lost everything right now because I know how to do it again. And that's why it's super important that you build something that will give you the skills, because now all what I've learned in these 3 years, I know I can apply. I have the resilience, I have the skills, and I can just do it all over again. And I would literally do it all over again because it's the best thing I've done. And I really believe in my mission. I'm helping spread through health, and that's physical, mental, and financial. And those 3 things are super important. And I don't think any job I saw in corporate offers that, but in general, it's hard to find something that offers the 3.
The moment you know you should quit your job is when?
When you're dreading Monday and always looking forward for the weekend.
Oh my goodness. The biggest lie corporates sell you is?
It's safe to have a corporate job.
If you want freedom, the first thing you do is?
Not be scared to fail.
Most people will never leave their 9 to 5 because?
They don't think they can do better than a 9 to 5.
The real reason you feel stuck is?
you've not found something that fulfills you. One thing that I want to say super clear is that a lot of people don't go into entrepreneurship because they think it's lonely. And it was the opposite of lonely. I found so many people who are every day working towards their dreams. Like, the community was the best thing I got out of it. And I just thought I was the only one. I honestly was going to the office every day thinking, am I the only one that just doesn't want to be here, that like is not happy? And no, you're not, but you need to find your people. And that's why Unfold Your Freedom, it's my community, was the best thing that helped me go through this path. So, yeah.
For most people, it is usually the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
If I'm an expat woman, I'm afraid. How will you help me? What framework can I use to overcome this fear?
Yeah, definitely. I think that like I cannot really help you. You need to help yourself. That's the first thing, because I think that a lot of times we just put it on someone else. Like, oh, this is not working because of my company. This is not working because of this, because of that. We blame others. And it really is our responsibility to change our lives. And that's the first thing. I think when you realize it's up to you, that makes a big difference. And then also, like, it's normal to have fear. Like, that's how the brain works. So don't stop, like, don't wait until you stop having fear, because that's not going to happen. But just get to know it. Like, there's so many things you can try. And as I said, the discovery process is literally there for you to, in a risk-free way, see everything, how it looks like, see if it's for you. Even you get access to the community, so you get to meet the people, and then you get to make that decision. So that's the risk-free way of seeing if something's for you. And I say 100%. You have to try. If not, you never know. That's the worst thing. The worst thing is not to fail. It's to never try, honestly.
So there is the next question I want to ask you is, if somebody, and again, this happens to most businesses, that when you start, you have a very, very grand dream, idea, sitting on the beach, sipping pina colada, the freedom life. But for most people, it doesn't happen in the next 6 months. Let's say they started today. It might be probably in the next 13th month that they finally get the breakthrough. But most people are unable to get through to that 13th month. What will you say to somebody who have already started and they are in that phase where they are not sure if this is working or not?
Yeah, that's great, because I was definitely there. One thing I would say first is that you can choose two things. Like, you can do this for the lifestyle, or you can really do this to help others. And for me, like, yeah, the lifestyle is great. Like, you can travel, you can go back to see family, if that's what you call lifestyle. But also I get to help other women realize their dreams. And once you get started, you get to also help other people get started. So that was the most beautiful thing for me. But on the other part, when it gets tough, right? Like, this is not working, like, this is not happening for me. Like, you just keep going. The best thing someone told me in network marketing is, you only fail if you quit. So I knew I would never fail, because I was never going to quit. So it was like success guaranteed, basically, because it's your choice if you quit. And if you don't quit, you can never fail in this business.
I read something from you recently, or in the past, where you said I don't know, maybe the time we discussed the last time, when you started, you were not talking to the right people. So that means business wasn't coming in. And for anybody who is going through that phase, how do you get out of that place?
Yeah, so niche, find your niche. I think that's the biggest thing, because now I have a team, so I'm trying to teach them all the stuff that I didn't do when I started. And it's like, find your niche, because speaking to everyone, it's great. Like, yeah, I really want to help everyone, but you really can't. And mostly online. Like, if you are online, if you're on social media, like, you really need to speak to one person. That's why now I speak to ambitious expat women. But when you're offline, again, I'm happy to help everyone. I have men, I have women in my team. But online, you really need to find a niche and talk to them, because if not, it just gets like lost what you want to say to others. So that is the biggest thing, for sure. And now I'm teaching my team all of that. So it's very exciting.
That's cool. That's cool. What else can bring you more customers?
I think it was good. Like, yeah, we talked about expat women, the discovery process. I think it's just like being able to reach out to me and not being scared to reach out to me, because I think that, yeah, that's the big thing too. Like, I need to reach out to a stranger. Like,
for any expat woman who is thinking of reaching out to you, what does it take to reach out to you?
You just send me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn, I think at Discover with Eugenia, and it's just do it, because you can also you can go and see my content and follow me and see if, you know, with that you get more secure and you want to message me. But just message me, it can change your life. So it definitely is worth it. The worst case scenario would be with someone else. They say the worst case scenario is they say no or they don't answer, but I will answer. So there's no worst case scenario. Like, just reach out, and we can also see how it will look like for you, because I think that sometimes it's like, okay, but will this work for me? So we can have a conversation and see if this will be for you. And that's the whole point of the discovery process. You also get a 1-hour call with me where we sit down and we specifically plan your business, like specifically for you. And I think that's really great.
I think that's the best part of this. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.